We have officially stepped into my dark and twisted, crazy ass mind. I got 2 topics this week for you in the Mind of Haize segment. The first one that we're going to be getting into is this whole thing has kind of blown up with Adam Silver saying that next year they're not going to be allowing the messages on jerseys. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and get into the clip.
The NBA has certainly been the most visible billion-dollar organization championing social justice and civil rights. As you noted in your press conference the other day, though, that has not been universally popular. How committed are you to being that going forward?
We're completely committed to standing for social justice and racial equality. And that's been the case going back decades. It's part of the DNA of this league. How it gets manifested is something we're going to have to sit down with the players and discuss for next season. I would say in terms of the messages you see on our court, on the jerseys, this was an extraordinary moment in time when we began the discussions with the players and what we all lived through this summer. My sense is there'll be somewhat a return to normalcy, that those messages will largely be left to be delivered off the floor. And I understand those people who are saying, I'm on your side, but I want to watch a basketball game.
So this has had understandable backlash from people, especially I think the line in which he said he understands people just want to watch a basketball game. And while I think some of the backlash from this is warranted, just because of the way that the comment was worded, but also how it isn't. Because overall, as far as sports league allowing their stars to take a stance verbally, use the platform, we know that LeBron James wore an I Can't Breathe shirt in the pregame. Nothing was said about it as far as like him that he couldn't wear that. This has always happened. The NBA has been one of the best leagues in regards to allowing players to have a voice when it comes to social justice issues and never really not letting that voice be heard or to try to critique it. But the thing with the messages on the back of the jersey so far, the way that I look at it is that this bubble situation, it came in a time, it's such a special circumstance, right? It came in a time where we had the George Floyd thing, the protests were going on, and so the NBA, being ahead of the curve as they usually are, allowed players to express their thoughts, feelings, and emotions on what was going on by having messages on the back of their jerseys. Now, it wasn't required that the message be social justice related because not every player did, especially some of the foreign players. But when that was originally, we have to understand, when that was originally put into place, it wasn't for social justice originally. Now, it's good that they allowed it to be done that way. But I think the bubble was such a unique circumstance that I can understand why they wouldn't allow messages on the back of the jersey in general going into the next regular season and trying to get everything more back to the normal status quo. Now, they're not going to be, at least until that it's shown, I'm not going to believe that they're going to be trying to quiet any of their players' voices, or say their players can't wear certain shirts, or say other players can't use the platform to speak out on injustices. I'm not going to believe that until it's shown. But when you have someone that says let's just or people just want to watch a basketball game, again, that's something that even made my eyebrow raise. So I'm like, huh? Like, I think knowing seeing what I've seen from Adam Silver for basically my whole life, my whole adult life, he's been in a power position in the NBA. I don't believe that it's one of those things where they're caving under pressure or whatever. I think this was probably always the plan. The way that the question was presented to him, he answered it in a way that was respectful to the conversation. That's just my opinion. Like I said, I understand people taking note with the way that it was said, but overall, I think that the NBA is going to get back to what it's always done, and it's always allowed its players to speak out. And I don't want people to lose sight of that, just focusing on the fact that maybe a misworded, and people, hell, I've done it here. I say things in the passion, I don't necessarily think about it, and it can come off a certain way. So that's what I'm hoping it is. That's just my stance on it. I'm not saying that that's what anybody else's stance. I'm not saying I don't understand people being frustrated over people having issues with it. I'm not saying that at all. So I want to make that clear. That is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm giving my opinion on where that lies. Now, later in this show, we're going to get into my strong opinion on some of injustice and racial things specifically, but I don't see this as being one of those. But that, like I said, that just may completely be my opinion. We'll continue to monitor it. As you guys know, I watch everything, so I'm gonna stay on top of it, and if it does change, I'll be one of the first ones to call it out and sit here and say that I don't like the changes that are being made if the NBA is going to start not allowing their players to be as boisterous as they always heard. But that's it. Not gonna belabor that anymore, kind of focus on it, but I definitely wanted to speak on it. Next topic that we have here in the Mind of Haize segment.
Charged with 1 count of assault with a semi-automatic firearm and 1 count of carrying a loaded, concealed firearm in a vehicle, Lanez is formally indicted yesterday by the Los Angeles DA's office. He's set to be arraigned Monday in Los Angeles and faces 22 years and 8 months behind bars.
Now, Tory Lanez has been charged with felony assault in the Megan Thee Stallion shooting. Now,
rapper Tory Lanez will face assault and weapons charges for allegedly shooting Megan Thee Stallion in the foot this summer. According to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, the rapper, whose real name is Daystar Peterson, will face 1 felony count each of assault with a semi-automatic firearm and carrying a loaded, unregistered firearm in a vehicle. Per the statement, Peterson is also facing a gun allegation and that he, quote, personally inflicted great bodily injury. If convicted,
is unfortunately going back to the Tory Lanez situation, and I feel like I'd be remiss if I did not comment on the updates, because I had a whole In the Mind of Haize segment on it before, and I had a video on YouTube for it. It's one of my more popular, or more watched, I shouldn't say popular, more watched videos on YouTube since we've kind of been focusing more on the content there. And a lot of responses from that were from, surprisingly, black men. Oh, well, Tory story this, Tory story that. Why hasn't he been charged? Well, all of that has now gone away, because Tory Lanez has been charged with a felony in the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion. And if he is convicted of this, I believe it carries a maximum sentence of up to 22 years. And I get it. People are saying, well, let's see how it goes. Let's see what comes out in the case. If they're going to officially if he's going to officially go to jail or whatever. But the thing that I want to focus on here is whether you believe he's guilty or innocent. Overall, that's not our place to make that determination, right? I can say all day that me personally, I believe Megan Thee Stallion's story. If you don't, then you don't. That's completely up to you. But I think what we need to focus on here is not how many people do we know. Never mind, because that would cause a whole different thing. But what I want to say of this is, even if he is not, usually in cases like this, they charge them with the highest thing possible, right? Then when they go to court, maybe it gets pleaded out, maybe they can't get all the charges to stick and they get something less. The thing that I want to focus on here is, in Los Angeles, just discharging a weapon in public carries I believe it's a minimum sentence of 3 years. That may be the maximum. Quote me, I'm sure people will be in the comments correcting me if I was wrong on that. But so he doesn't have to be charged necessarily with the intent of shooting Megan Thee Stallion to do some serious time in jail. And I think that's it's noteworthy, because coming in, it would be different if he was charged, if what they charged him with was just the discharging of the weapon. Then I would believe that they didn't have a strong enough case, and then maybe he'll get a year, maybe he'll get probation for a year or two or whatever. But because he was charged with the highest possible in this case, the highest charge possible, there's a high probability that Tory is going to do some serious time in this case. So I get it, the people that want to believe Tory. It makes it interesting to see, like, because it had been so quiet for so long, was this the natural progression of things? Did Tory Lanez's album coming out and the new publicity surrounding it push forward this timeline a little bit in these charges? It's all interesting. It's all speculation, because at the end of the day, none of us know for sure what happened or what the police are going in this with. So it's going to be something that's just, it's going to be interesting to watch. He really faces a lot of time. And at the end of the day, you know, if Megan decides to take the stand, which I would imagine more than likely she is. Like, when you just think about the way that cases work out and everything, the victim is more times than not is going to testify. So that's going to be interesting, you know, change of things. And maybe that's what was the linchpin in this case. When you think about Tory not being charged up until this point, the case kind of being quiet for the most part from a legal standpoint, maybe that album that Tory released, because she said that she didn't want to say anything to the police at the time, not out of fear, but out of the sense of still trying to protect Tory. That was what her statement of what she said. Again, I know people may agree or disagree of the validity of that, but you have to think that maybe this album coming out, Megan's like, well, fuck it. If he's gonna try to sully my name, I'm gonna go ahead and testify, and we're gonna do what we can do on this. Just makes you think. It sucks because, of course, we have to watch it. We have to talk about it. This is people's life. This is real life shit. So it just makes it makes you think. But at the end of the day, I hope justice is served, whatever shape, form that takes. I hope full justice is served in this case, and I hope if he did do it, that he gets the maximum time that they can give him. That's my personal opinion. If he did this, if he shot this woman in his foot, which I like I said, with the information that I was given in my personal opinion on it, I believe that was the case. You could not. I do think that he should serve that time. And it sucks because I'm not one for black men being locked up in general for false things. But if you do some shit, you deserve to be locked up for it. That's my opinion on it. That's the end of the Mind of Haize segment. I had to give that and talk about that because it was two things that were really on my mind this week, and that's the point of the segment. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take a break. We are going to get into the segment that I really don't know what to call it as far as a segment. I guess it is discussion topic part 1. The main discussion topic is the creative mind segment, but we're going to jump into that right after this break. I'll see you guys there.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.